welcome back to JayhawkJukebox. I'm Taylor.
I'm Dana.
And this is Song of the Week for this week. So for my song, I picked Going, Going, Gone by Lucy Dacus. You said you listened to it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was just really like personal and poetic kind of. It was a slow song, so I thought it was really interesting and felt like really nice.
Yeah, I picked it because I went to her concert here in Lawrence at Liberty Hall like 2 weekends ago. And I only went because I won tickets through KJHK. But
Oh, really?
I only knew a few of her songs, but a lot of this album is kind of like that. Like the album's called Home Video, so it's just a lot of like very personal like things about her past and like her like relationships. But this song specifically was like a sing-along. So like even though I didn't necessarily know all the words, it was just like really nice feeling to be standing there with the whole crowd like singing along.
And you can hear her voice like really clearly in the track, like it's mostly about what she's saying, like it's not really about the music, so that's why I felt like it was kind of like a poem.
Yeah.
And then for my song, I chose Through the Wire by Kanye, basically because I was watching his documentary and it just like brought me back to his old music, and it wasn't really like a personal thing for me, but it was more just like about nostalgia. So I was like, oh, this is a cool song. Like it should be highlighted a little bit.
I hadn't heard it before, and I haven't been watching his documentary. I don't really know a lot of his music, but listening to it, I definitely could see like where his influences were like very early on, and the way that influenced other people just in this like one song alone. Like
and it's also like it was kind of like the start of his career. That's like when he got signed on, was because of the song. He made a music video to the song, and it's based on like his surgery and stuff. So I thought that was like really cool and interesting.
Yeah, I definitely should watch that documentary, just even though I don't listen to him that much. Keep hearing a lot of good things.
Yeah.
So. But
he's interesting. He's an interesting character.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
So that's all for the song of the week this week. We will throw it over to Jazz Corner with Nathan and John.
And this week's album is Sunday at the Village Vanguard by the Bill Evans Trio featuring Scott LaFaro. Now, I want to give a little bit of background about this album. So this trio from Bill Evans, of Evans, LaFaro, and Paul Motion on drums, this trio had been together for a while, and not long after this album was recorded, Scott LaFaro died in a car accident. So that's part of the reason why this is technically featuring Scott LaFaro. And so it's kind of almost a tribute to him. And they also, when picking the tracks, because these tracks were taken from I think 2 or 3 shows that Evans had at the Village Vanguard. And part of the decision making going into when they actually wanted to release this album was they put 2 compositions from LaFaro on here, sort of as a tribute to him. So after a little background, what did you think of the album?
I liked it. As soon as I heard it, because I knew we were doing the kind of the classical jazz and everything, but I loved the opening. I think it was Solar that really got my attention.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like very bopsy, or kind of had like the kind of bop to it, and like. And
that's partly because that was actually composed by Miles Davis, one of the best jazz trumpeters ever. So that's partly why you have that type of bebop to it.
I didn't notice that. I didn't know it was Miles Davis. But no, I loved immediately Solar because it was kind of upbeat and everything, and then like my favorite was Alice in Wonderland Take 2, I think.
Yeah.
Because there was Take 3 and there was Take 2.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these takes on here, partly because I don't know if they played the same sets over the course of the performances, but yeah, they're unlike the expanded version. There's multiple tracks of each.
Yeah.
And so, in my opinion, this is one of the best piano jazz albums. That's pure like just piano, bass, and drums. And Scott LaFaro on all of these tracks is just absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite part of this record, is that he gets a lot of time as a soloist. Gets his chance to have his own solo in some of these songs, and he's so great on the entire album. And I always tell people that, all right, I want to get into Bill Evans. Where do I start?
Yeah.
This is where you start.
Yeah.
Because this is classic Bill Evans.
I could see.
Kind of that slow jazz, but has a lot of elements to it. And this is one of my favorite jazz albums, and probably my favorite from Bill Evans.
I had found him, I think it was like, I was listening to Pandora, this was obviously a couple years back, but listening to Pandora, and it was like, I think it's called Ghost.
I think so, yes.
Yes, and a couple tracks off of there is like where I first kind of heard Bill Evans, and like just the whole, because I've always loved 50s, kind of 60s jazz and everything, so that was just, it was like, what is this? And like just hearing like the percussions and like the classics, it just really put me in the mindset. I was like, oh, like all jazz and like any type of piano music always makes me productive. So that was just like, and this is Bill Evans Trio. So it's fun that you brought it back. And
I mean, this truly is an incredible album, and you know, in majority of the jazz community, it's labeled as most likely Bill Evans' best album. I mean, he's got
I can see that.
obviously some other great albums, but this is kind of what many would consider the standard for Bill Evans. You've got a few others, like, you know, just for example, Portrait in Jazz is another great album. But like I said earlier, when I but that's okay. But like I said earlier, when I recommend a Bill Evans album to people, this is where I start.
Okay.
Because this is just classic Bill Evans. So what would you rate the album overall?
Well, because I'm just getting into this jazz world, and you're showing me all this new stuff, I would give it a, what was it, like 6 tracks, I'm gonna give it like a 7.5, 8. I thought it was really good. I loved the, especially because they weren't all super bopsy, like I was talking about earlier with Solar. There was definitely some like lower key ones, and and
that's kind of Bill Evans' style. He occasionally has that sort of boppy style. It's more when he's playing on other people's albums that you start to get into that. But when it's just like pure Bill Evans, you kind of get that slower jazz. And some people don't like that. Yeah. But you can't deny the brilliance of Bill Evans, especially on this album.
Most definitely. What's your rating?
Yeah, my rating, because this is, in my opinion, the best Bill Evans album, at least with him featured as the frontman, I'd probably give it a 9. Yeah. I really think it's probably his best work. And I really do. Even listening to some of his other incredible albums, you know, the only one that I could think of that could compete with this is probably Waltz for Debbie. Which,
how far is that one from this one?
It's not far. I want to say that it was released almost, not directly after this, but pretty soon after. Okay. I'd have to read into it a little bit, but Waltz for Debbie is very similar to this as well. So, all right, we'll take a break, and then we'll be back to talk about covers.
Pollution, one of the biggest things killing our planet, and yet trash is still being thrown out of car windows right here on campus, but also left on beaches, causing millions of sea animals to be killed and humans to have a 20% higher risk of death from lung cancer. Pollution is not only just trash being thrown out by humans, but also factories, cars, and even wood-burning fires, causing our air to be contaminated. It may feel like pollution is not affecting the area where we live, but that is not the case. Kansas suffers about 10 to 15 days each year of poor air quality. It may not seem like much, but it adds up and can lead to very negative effects. Pollution is killing not only our planet, but us too, and it needs to be stopped. It starts with you.
Welcome back. We're going to be talking about cover versus the original for this segment, and for this week we picked Girl Crush, which is originally by Little Big Town, and then the cover version is Harry Styles. So I guess just what were your guys' thoughts on each of the songs?
Well, I think I've heard this song like across TikTok a little bit, and I didn't know that Little Big Town was like the original like version of the song, and so I listened to the Harry Styles one first, and the entire time like I was driving listening to it, and I was like, I just kind of wish that there was like more pep in the step to it, because like with
Harry's version?
Yeah,
yes,
because like agree. When you listen to Harry Styles, like I feel like a lot of it like Watermelon Sugar, like a lot of his stuff has really like fast-paced beats to it, and I just felt almost like I was like angry that it wasn't faster. I was like, this is sweet, but I need something more. And like the Little Big Town one, I felt had that like nice beat in the back to like make it feel like it was a fast-paced song while still being slow.
Yeah, I personally like the Little Big Town version better. Love Harry though, but I just like the who's the girl that's singing it? What's her name?
I'm not sure her name, but
Yeah, she just sounds good, and I think it's like kind of.
I like the Harry Styles version better, but I think it's just because the original is very nostalgic for me because it was on the radio all the time when I was in middle school. Like, I listened to a lot of radio country music growing up, and then I was really into One Direction, of course, and now I'm a big Harry Styles fan.
I mean, who isn't?
So I think just the fact that there was like a new updated version that's like different from what I heard over and over and over again in middle school, and I just like him a lot, so I'm just biased.
Yeah, no, I like how he's kind of raspy in it too, but I just think it sounds better with a woman singing it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Like, I was listening to the lyrics and I was like, I can't get a vibe off of it. I was like, I don't know if this is supposed to make me feel sad that like you're missing like a lover, like you're just like distraught, or if you're just like you're singing to them and you're just like, oh my god, like I'm so in love with you. And like Harry Styles, huge man crush. Like, I've loved him since I was 13 and I really wanted to like it, but I do have to pick Little Big Town. I'm sorry. It's 2 versus 1.
I feel like this version of this song kind of leans more into his first album type stuff of like the folky, like very guitar based, like slow stuff, which I think is why I like it more, because I like this version of this song more than I like those songs on that album, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like the same vibe. I don't know.
There's a lot to unpack with it.
Yes.
There is.
I guess.
Have anything else?
Yeah.
I think
We'll just take a break and then we'll be back with Euphoria Season 2 soundtrack.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
Welcome back to Jayhawk Jukebox. I'm Audrey, and today we are going to be talking about Euphoria Season 2. Oh, also, what are you guys' names? Sorry.
Taylor. I'm Taylor.
All right, cool. Well, what was your first pick for the season?
So my first pick is the first song on the playlist we were going off of, and it's Labyrinth's I'm Tired. It's from the episode with Rue's big episode this season.
Episode 5, I think.
Yes, and basically in the scene, she's like, her whole arc this season is kind of about her grieving her dad and like wanting to, and like struggling her addiction and like wanting to be able to be with him, I guess.
Yeah.
And so this song was kind of representative of that. And like, this is the only song that really honestly stood out to me because it's just so emotional. And
I prefer it over like All For Us, especially just like the choir in it and everything. And also like, I like that it was also like in the last episode as well with Rue singing it.
Yes.
I was like, that was needed. We needed
That's why
Zendaya.
he was waiting to release it, I think.
Oh, I was upset when he took it off because I had it on like a playlist, and then I
Yeah.
was like, God, no. So what are one of your favorite songs?
So I picked Liability by Lorde. I think that wasn't technically part of season 2. It was the episode.
Jules' special
Yeah, Jules'
episode.
special.
Jules' special
Yes.
episode. And I just liked like how it started out that way. It just feels like the song is really about her. Like,
Yeah.
as it just kind of shows you like it always comes to a certain extent with her and people, and like she's not. I feel like they're trying to say that her love is kind of conditional for other people, and she kind of unconditionally loves people. That was before she did all she did. But
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One of my I think favorites ever was Haunted by Laura Les with the scene with Lexi. Just because I don't know what it is about. Like, I'm not 100. I know that the artist is from like 100 Gex or something, and I am not a 100 Gex girl. That is not my style of music. But like something about this song and the scene with it just like hit different. It was just so good, and it just made me want to get on a bike and like run to the little like where Fez works.
Like when?
I don't remember what episode. I feel like it was episode 3 or something like that, and like they were talking, I don't know, they were talking about Lexi, and she was like put in headphones and like walked out of the school in slow-mo and stuff. And I was just like, ooh, let's go.
I just love Lexi.
Yeah,
So-
me too. She put on that play.
Yes, which
Yes.
is my next pick,
Yeah.
which I don't necessarily like the song all that much just because it's so like popular, and but it's Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler. And I just picked this because I really loved Lexi's play episode and the whole big finale with Kat's boyfriend, I don't remember his name, of
Ethan.
just this whole
Yeah.
the whole song of them like making fun of the football players. Just something about
Literally.
it was so satisfying.
It was so good. It was like, that deserves an award in itself.
It was
The
like the
whole
perfect
performance.
amount of irony. I feel
Yes.
like.
Yeah, literally. The whole play was just so good.
Yes.
Do you have any other songs that you enjoyed?
I picked also Watercolor Eyes by Lana Del Rey.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
she
did too.
released it
Yeah.
actually the day episode 3 came out
Yes.
of season 2, and also I feel like it kind of just tied into things because in that episode, I think Rue and Jules were having trouble, and also Cassie and Nate were having trouble. That's the episode where Nate like didn't go to hang out with Cassie and he hung out with Maddie. Yeah, it was just like perfect for both situations. So I was like, oh.
That song
Nice.
stood out to me too, just because I don't necessarily
Oh,
love Lana
yeah.
Del Rey. Like a lot of her songs feel kind of the same to me.
That's fair.
But I noticed with like this second season being a lot more popular, that they have a lot of songs from like mainstream artists. Like in Jules' special episode, they also have that song with Billie Eilish and Rosalia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot of the songs are like maybe by mainstream artists, but you wouldn't necessarily like you wouldn't recognize them at first, or they were made specifically for the show. Like,
Yeah, I think Lana Del Rey was a perfect pick though, because that was the episode Cassie was just kind of like doing that crazy getting ready routine, and it's kind of like her whole I feel like Lana Del Rey's whole theme is to like romanticize really messed up relationships.
Yes.
So true, so
Yes.
true.
So I felt like that was
I wish
matching.
like the song was in the episode, because it wasn't it like at the end in
It
the
was in the
credits or
credits,
something, and I
yeah.
was like waiting for it the whole episode. My last song that I really liked was the whole scene with "Call Me Irresponsible" by Bobby Darin, I think is his name, with Rue just like singing in her room, and like
Yeah.
I felt like, based off like even just like reading about it too, I feel like that was just like one of her ways of like just coping with her life and where she was like her happiest, just like dancing in her room and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was
Yeah.
one of my favorites too, just watching her dance around.
Yeah, my last one was Taking Responsibility by Kilo Kosh or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And this was not in season 2, but it was just an episode where like Rue relapsed and
Yeah.
she like stole the pill from Jules' house or something. And I just thought it was like really fitting for her, and like she just walks out of Jules' house and she's just like relapsing. The song is called Taking Responsibility. So
I just really like a lot of the music that's featured in the show, the way that you can listen to it and like kind of be transported back in that like vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I know there are a bunch of songs like that that I'll play on my playlist. And I
Yes.
just like feel like I'm in Euphoria for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yes.
It's so fun.
it's the Euphoria culture.
The Euphoria culture, for sure. Well, thank you guys for listening. We're going to send it over for This Week in Country with John and Grace.
Thanks, guys. So welcome to This Week in Country, a segment where we look back on events throughout the history of country. I'm John Dawkins.
And I'm Grace Enright. In 1946, Elle Dexter was at #1 on the U.S. Country Singles Chart with Guitar Polka. The track spent a total of 16 weeks on Billboard's list as the most played jukebox folk record in 1946.
In 1968, Johnny Cash married June Carter. Johnny had proposed to June while on stage in London, Ontario, the previous month. Cash and Carter continued to work together and tour for 35 years until Carter's death in 2003. Cash died 4 months later.
In 1981, country music star Eddie Rabbitt crossed over to the pop chart to score a U.S. #1 hit with I Love a Rainy Night. He had earlier written the Elvis Presley smash Kentucky Rain before having a number 5 hit with Driving My Life Away.
In 1987, Warner Bros. Released the trio album by Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris. The album sold over 4 million copies and also received several Grammy nominations and other awards. The three singers released the follow-up album Trio 2 in 1999.
In 1996, Alison Krauss and Shenandoah's Somewhere in the Vicinity of the Heart won the Grammy Award for Best Country Collaboration with Vocals. The single was Krauss's first top 10 entry on the country chart.
In 1997, Shania Twain released her third studio album, Come On Over, which became the best-selling country music album by a female act to date. The album has sold more than 40 million copies worldwide and shipped over 20 million copies in the United States.
In 1998, Garth Brooks hosted Saturday Night Live and guest starred as the musical guest, performing his hit Two Pina Coladas.
In 2002, Alan Jackson was at number 1 on the U.S. country music album chart with his 10th studio album, Drive. The album produced Jackson's highest debuting selling on the Hot Country Songs charts.
In 2005, Nelly featuring Tim McGraw were at number 1 on the UK singles chart with Over and Over, the third number 1 for Nelly and the first for Grammy Award-winning country music star Tim McGraw.
In 2010, Rascal Flatts were guest stars on CSI, starring as themselves. In the episode, Jana Marcus received an electronic shock from his own bass guitar during a performance at a Vegas club, leaving the musician with total amnesia.
In 2011, the Country Music Association announced that Reba McEntire would be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. McEntire was unable to attend the announcement after her father had slipped into a coma following a stroke.
And that concludes This Week in Country. Be sure to tune in next week at 4:30 and follow us on our socials on Twitter at Jayhawk_Jukebox and our Instagram at JayhawkJukebox.
Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.